Hey there, I'm Michelle Coyle and I help queer entrepreneurs start up and scale. And today we're going to be talking about how to build your identity as an entrepreneur, because when it comes to being able to set huge goals and smash through them, identity is everything. So we're going to talk about how to build that identity in 4 steps. And here we go. So step number 1 is to understand what identity is and the role that identity plays in your life. All right, so whatever you think of as yourself, your identity, what you hold true, is going to influence everything in terms of how you act and how you respond to suggestions. This is a really interesting, cool thing to understand, the role between identity and how I respond to stimulus or how I respond to suggestion. If you guys are familiar with a guy called Joseph Murphy, an old guy from back in the day, he wrote a lot in the 30s and 40s, really fascinating stuff about how to hack your subconscious mind, but he tells an anecdote about this to explain it around being on a boat. So he says, look, if you have never been on a boat before and you're really, really scared to go on a boat and it's your first time on a boat and you go and you step on the boat and you're holding onto the rail and you're kind of freaked out and somebody comes up to you and says, hey, you look a little seasick, I think you ought to sit down. You're going to go, oh yeah, you're probably right. I should probably go sit down. Now, if you have been a sailor for 20 years and you're standing on a boat in your uniform and someone comes up to you and says, hey, you look a little seasick, I think you ought to sit down, you're going to say, fuck off. I've been doing this for longer than you've been alive or whatever. Like, why would you say that to me? Of course I'm fine. There's no difference in the suggestion or the stimulus, right? The same person came up to both people and said the same thing, but the reaction is totally different based on the identity of the person. I'm scared, I've never been on a boat before, or I've been on a boat for my entire career and I've been doing this all the time and you don't know what you're talking about, right? And how I'm going to react and how I'm going to act is totally different to the same stimulus based on the identity that I hold. So number 1, understand that key to everything that you think, perceive, react, act on in the world is this core identity that you hold. And you're going to hold a bunch of different identities in a bunch of different ways, but those are going to be core to who you are and how you experience the world. All right, so here we come to point number 2, which is that you can hack your own brain and your own life by creating your own identity, right? And so that identity might be a future paste of a goal that you have, like I'm the CEO of a $5 million company, or I lead a team of 20 people and maybe you don't have anybody on, but that's how you're thinking of yourself. Or, I am a parent, or I am a badass entrepreneur, or I'm this, or I'm that. It's really important to get something like that, future pace it a little bit, anchor on it, and think of yourself that way, because you're going to make totally different decisions based on that identity. So let's say that you've just started out in your company. Maybe your company's on track to make a couple $100,000 a year this year. The difference between thinking of myself as I am a solo consultant that does okay working for myself, and I am the CEO of what's going to be a $5 million company, is the difference in how you're going to react to different decisions. What are you spending on advertising? Who are you looking to hire people? Like, what is happening when you think about how do I invest my money in the business? From this standpoint versus from this standpoint is going to be completely different, and you're going to take totally different actions. And I promise you, if you're holding the identity as of a solopreneur, a solo consultant that maybe makes a couple $100,000 a year and does pretty well, you are not going to be making decisions that lead you to become a CEO of a $5 million company. You've got to think like the CEO of a $5 million company before you're ever going to become, in reality, the CEO of a $5 million company. And bonus, spoiler alert, the cool thing about this is as you're thinking like that, you're already experiencing that reality in your own mind, right? All the things that we ever experience are just in our own head anyway. I know I'm blowing your mind today. I'm getting with the real deep shit. But everything that you think about and experience is just in your own mind anyway, so it might as well be the reality that you want it to be. Create an identity, stick with it, and think about that every day. So that brings us to step 3. Take time every single day to get in touch with that identity. Meaning, I'm going to say that to myself every morning when I do my mindset work, before I'm meditating or whatever I'm doing, if I'm running, jogging, whatever your morning routine is, making breakfast, I'm going to really take a second to get in touch with, hey, here's who I am. Here's the leader that I am, or here's the impact that I accomplish, or here's the amount of money my company makes, or here's what I am, or here's what I do, whatever it is, whatever that identity is that you anchored on, make sure that you're reminding yourself of it every single day. And one really cool way to do this, especially if you're talking about a future-paced identity, is to play little mental movies for yourself. So as you're taking time in the morning to do that mindset work, let's say your identity is that future-paced, I'm the CEO of a $5 million company. go ahead and take the time to really think about what that feels like, what that means. If I'm the CEO of a $5 million company, what am I wearing? What are my, what phone calls am I making first, right? What am I eating for breakfast? Like what are my work surroundings like? What does that smell like? What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like? Really just kind of put yourself in there every single day. It's an amazing way to hack your brain, and because of cognitive dissonance, right? Your brain wants to avoid cognitive dissonance. It is very, very uncomfortable for us when what we think should happen and what's actually happening are totally different. So if you tell your brain, I'm the CEO of a $5 million company every day, and you like picture that, and you like, oh, you smell it and you taste it and you feel it and you see that mental movie, and then that's actually not what your brain is seeing or what you're experiencing, your brain is going to be like, I don't like this. I need to merge these two things. And it's going to make sure subconsciously that you do the things that close the gap and get you closer to this. I know this sounds crazy, but this is what the woo-woo people are talking about when they talk about manifesting and everything else. You can think of it from that kind of metaphysical standpoint if you want to, if that works for you. For me, it makes more sense to just think about it in a logical frame of you're just directing your focus and saying, this is where I want to get to, and then you're much more likely to do the things that get you there if you do that. But you can do that consciously and you can do that subconsciously by playing these mental movies for yourself every single day. And then that brings us to step 4, the last step. You're going to want to make sure that you're upgrading or changing your identity every few months, maybe every 6 months, maybe every year, but at least, periodically, because the identity that served you before isn't going to serve you forever. So if you're saying when you're first starting out making a couple $100,000 a year, I am the CEO of a $5 million company, and that actually works, and then you become the CEO of a $5 million company, you can keep telling yourself that, but then you're just going to kind of stick there. And if that's what you want, that's fine. But if you actually want to continue to grow, then you're going to have to re-up that and say, okay, I am the CEO of a $10 million company or a $20 million company, because that person makes decisions differently and takes different actions than a person that's running a $5 million company. So you're going to have to continually, every once in a while, check in with yourself and say, is it time for an identity switch or an identity upgrade? And what's the new identity that I want to anchor to? And what do I want to step to there? So I know this is a little bit weird, but I promise if you try this and you do it consistently for several weeks, you're actually going to see some major cool changes happening in your business and in the rest of your life. Just give me the benefit of the doubt, try it out for me and see what happens for you. All right, if you like this video, as always, you can click right here and subscribe. We're always doing this stuff a couple times a week, so I want to make sure that you don't miss anything. Get all the free business tips that we have to give you. Also, I have something new for you. If you want to click the link in the description today, I've got a new free training for queer entrepreneurs on how to survive and thrive in crazy economic times. I would love for you to check it out, so just click the link, check that out. And as always, if there's anything you want to say to us or have us talk about in the comments, just drop it in the comments. I'll check it out. I'll do a video about it if it's cool, and we'll have a whole dialogue around it. So I think that's good for now. Like, have fun, set your identity, do something really cool, and see where it takes you. I can't wait to see and hear about all of the progress that you make when you do this. Keep in touch and let me know, please. Go do it, let it shine, get out there, and we will see you next time.